So I watched his press conference, and basically he comes out and he goes on and is grieving for the officer and his family, and he spent an hour with the officer's family, and blah, 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 blah. Then he's asked a question about his past comments about defunding the police. That the particular unit that responded to that, he wanted that unit defunded. He also made comments in the past about how defunding the police was good for gays, for queer liberation, for trans justice. But Mamdani, much like Gavin Newsom, is a political shapeshifter. So they can shapeshift and be whatever they need to be. And some politicians are really good at that. You know, like Kamala Harris, who's not running for governor. If you're just joining us, that's the big announcement that she made today. She will not be losing the race for governor. She's not a shapeshifter. She can't. She's incapable of it. If she was good, then that time on The View when they were like, hey, is there anything you would do different? She would have been like, yeah. And she would have listed all these things, and she would have done soaring rhetoric about how we need change. And instead she just sat there and went, nah. Nothing comes to mind. Nah. You know, Gavin Newsom is able to shapeshift, and that's why I made the joke that Gavin Newsom is now calling for the recall of California Governor Gavin Newsom. I mean, he's literally changing everything about what he once stood for. And if you're good at it, then people have short memories, and the people that vote for Democrats typically have low IQs anyway. So, yeah, it may work with them. Mamdani's that kind of a guy, too. So he's got all these comments he said on defund the police. Andrew Cuomo gave an interview to Cassie Hunt on MSNBC, and I watched that interview, but that won't go viral. He's boring. The Love Gov had his moment. And during COVID, you know, I mean, it was a different social media universe back then. So his long 3-hour press conferences where he would sit there and lecture everybody, and then he'd go on his brother's dumb show on CNN. That's how people consumed information in 2020. 5 years, so much has changed. And 5 months from now, so much is changing. I mean, the media landscape is changing so quickly. Exponentially isn't even a word for it. You need a new word for it. So all I got to do is just come out and say something that gets picked up, and if people are dumb enough to believe that you've changed or that what you thought in the past is no longer your view now, and you can convince them because you have the ability to lie and BS, then they might fall for it. That's what I mean. That's Newsom sits there with Charlie Kirk and, you know, defends his position, and he's like, yeah, I don't think men should play women's sports, but then proceeds to enact policy. John Fetterman, I think Fetterman's a political shapeshifter. I know everybody believes that he's had some sort of a political transformation, but his votes don't suggest that. His statements do, and his statements tend to go viral because when John Fetterman says something, it's such an outlier point that it tends to blow up social media, and then people get angry at him for saying it, and then that blows up social media. But his votes are still the same. So I don't think he's changed. I think he's another one who's very good at being a political shapeshifter. So here's a little bit of what Mamdani said.
Having conversations. Do you wish you hadn't said some of those things a few years back?
My statements in 2020 were ones made amidst a frustration that many New Yorkers held at the murder of George Floyd and the inability to deliver on what Eric Adams, of all people, described as the right for all of us to be able to enjoy safety and justice, that we need not choose between the two.
So he's slick.